Today, you will start construction on your very own home for happiness. It is a home built from the inside, and it will enable you to take control of your happiness and your life. Before we get started, there's something I'd like for us to do together. It's something called the Inner Ease Technique, and it's from the Heart Math Institute. It really helps to settle us into the present moment with an open heart. Are you ready? First, sit comfortably in your chair. Put your hand on your heart. It doesn't matter which hand. It could even be both hands. What this does is to start the flow of a natural chemical called oxytocin. Oxytocin has been dubbed the love hormone because we have more of it when we feel connected or bonded with one another. Women who are breastfeeding have a lot of oxytocin. I know when my boys were just born, they're 13 and 11 now, I would lie on the bed or the couch with them and their heads would rest right here. I remember that feeling so well. The simple act of putting your hand on your heart is stimulating that feel-good oxytocin. Next is heart breathing. I'd like you to imagine that you're breathing in and out of the center of your heart. It's where you're directing your energy. You can either picture the breath going in and out from your heart, or you can feel it, whichever works better for you. Breathing into the heart, breathing out from the heart. Maybe you're already noticing a shift in how you're feeling. The last step is called heart feeling. As you continue to breathe in and out from the center of your heart, I want you to remember a time when you felt great love. You could remember a person or a situation where you just felt so much love. It could be a beloved or a four-legged loved one. Bring it to mind, bring them to mind, bring them to heart, something that reminds you of great love. Keeping that in your heart and your mind, continue to breathe in and out through your heart. Some people like to breathe in the words love, ease, and compassion. Exhale normally, and every time you inhale, breathe in love, ease, and compassion. You could even say the words to yourself. One more inhale. Love, ease, compassion. And on the next exhale, move your hand away and slowly open your eyes. How do you feel? Did you notice a shift? Some people tingle. Some feel centered, grounded, or peaceful. I'd love to hear what it's like for you. Go ahead and put it in the chat. By the way, you can do this anytime, eyes open or closed. Doing it once is nice, but making it a habit will cause your default setting to shift over to love. Shift. I love that word, don't you? Sometimes shifting is a choice. Maybe you notice that you're in the stress response and you choose to shift to love by using the inner ease technique that we just did together. Sometimes the shift happens in an instant. I'm sure you've had that experience at one time or another, an aha moment that caused you to change something in your life, a sudden realization, new information, or a new way of thinking about something. I experienced a shift when I started reading Marcy Shimoff's book, Happy for No Reason, which, as you know by now, is what brought me here today. To be honest, I didn't have great expectations. The topic of happiness struck me as a bit on the fluffy side, but I loved the title, Happy for No Reason. It sounded like a new way to think about happiness. But I didn't have to read more than a few pages before shift happened. The words that got me were happiness continuum. And that's exactly what we're going to learn about today. First of all, the idea that there even was a happiness continuum and that happy for no reason was at the positive end of it, not exuberant joy or peak experiences or being a positive Pollyanna of some sort. That was news. Then I learned that we all have a natural set point somewhere along the happiness continuum. Some people really are born happier than others. Extreme situations can show this to be true. Scientists have studied lottery winners, and yes, they really are happier for a while. But in less than a year, they report returning to the same level of happiness before they had won the lottery. Scientists have also figured out that around 50% of happiness is the result of genetics. 10% is due to outside circumstances, and a whopping 40% is due to our habits, thoughts, and behaviors. People who study genetics say that through habit change and practice, even our genetics can shift over time, which gives us even more control over happiness than that 40% of our habits does. We can literally learn and habituate happiness. I was sold. Personally, I started out in the area of happy for bad reason along the continuum. Sugar was my drug of choice. Through my health journey, I got a taste of happy for good reason, and I began a cycle of trying to accomplish my way to a better life. I got stuck on the hamster wheel trying to become happy for good reason over and over and wondering why nothing was really changing on the inside. I was focused on the manipulation of circumstances as my path to happiness, laser focused on the 10% of the pie and making that my whole world. Happy for no reason opened my eyes to the whole pie. Ah! So what is happy for no reason anyway? It's defined as an inner state of peace and well-being that does not depend on circumstances. Whoa, I was free from the 10% that had consumed me, and I could finally get to work on the 40% that I could actually directly control every day with renewed energy and vigor. It's so interesting because from the outside looking in, I was already doing many of the things recommended in the book, but I was doing them as the means to an end and never really allowing myself to be present with the enjoyment or the benefits that came from them. For example, I'm a water drinking and a good sleep machine. I was experiencing the benefits of these habits, but not really noticing them. They were merely items on a healthy to-do list that I didn't feel particularly connected to, other than being a good little box checker. I was and still am always pursuing some form of exercise, but I failed to notice how great it felt to move my body while I was doing it. Because I was doing it for external reasons, or because I felt like I had to. I could go on, but suffice it to say that happy for no reason brought awareness to my process and allowed me to experience joy that was already there. Not to mention all the other tools I had heard nothing about. But I just hadn't seen what I was doing in the framework of raising my happiness set point before. I was actually doing better than I thought. Shift happens. I have 2 pieces of happiness work for you today. That's right. It's not homework, it's happy work. I want you to make a list of 10 to 20 things that make you feel alive. Don't overthink it, just write. Put 1 or 2 in the chat right now if you have them ready to go. I'd love to see what makes the people in this room feel alive. You could even start working 1 or 2 of them intentionally into your daily life. Second, I want you to practice the inner ease technique 2 to 3 times a day for the next 7 days. We'll start off our next class by sharing what we notice from doing that. Speaking of next week, we will be learning how to lay a strong, unshakable foundation for our home for happiness by taking even greater responsibility for our happiness and why it matters. Have an amazing week filled with health and happiness. And remember, you are worth the effort. Let's get to work.